Imagine waking up at dawn, your muscles whispering for fuel, your mind craving a spark of vitality. Now envision this: with just one smart morning snack, you can rebuild worn fibers and carry boundless energy through your day. Today, I'll guide you through that simple, powerful step. When we talk about nutrition, exercise, or longevity, it's easy to get lost in the sea of complex terms: mitochondria, oxidative stress, protein synthesis. These are words that can sound intimidating, like they belong in a medical textbook rather than a conversation about your morning routine. But the truth is, understanding these concepts isn't just for scientists or doctors, it's for anyone who wants to make better choices for their health. And when we strip away the jargon, what we're left with is a series of clear, logical steps your body takes every single day, and the ways we can influence them. Think about your body as a series of interlocking systems. At the cellular level, we're made up of trillions of cells, each with specific jobs: muscle cells to contract and generate movement, brain cells to transmit signals, immune cells to fight off invaders. Now, each of those cells runs on chemistry, and that chemistry changes depending on the input you give it: what you eat, how much you move, whether you sleep well, how stressed you are. If we can understand even the basics of those processes, we can make targeted changes that actually work. Take muscle building, for example. It's not just about lifting weights, it's about what's happening in the muscle fibers themselves. Each muscle fiber contains proteins like actin and myosin that need constant repair and replacement. The body uses amino acids, the building blocks of protein, to do that repair work. When you eat something rich in protein, enzymes in your digestive system break it down into amino acids. Those amino acids then travel through your bloodstream, eventually reaching muscle cells where they're stitched together into new proteins, a process called protein synthesis. It's a process your body can only do if those amino acids are available in the right amounts at the right time. Energy works the same way. The mitochondria in your cells, think of them as tiny power plants. Take in fuel from the food you eat and convert it into ATP, the molecule your body uses for energy. Carbohydrates break down into glucose. Fats break down into fatty acids, and both can be used to make ATP. If we understand that, we can see why certain foods provide quick bursts of energy, while others offer slow, sustained release. It's not magic, it's biochemistry. This is where evidence-based science makes a difference. Instead of relying on trends or anecdotal advice, we can look at actual data, studies showing how people respond to different types of diets, how certain combinations of nutrients influence recovery, how meal timing affects energy levels. For example, research consistently shows that spreading protein intake evenly across the day, rather than loading it all at dinner, leads to better muscle retention, especially as we age. That's not opinion, that's the result of controlled studies measuring muscle protein synthesis in real time. And here's the beauty of it: when we take those findings and explain them in plain language, they become practical. You don't need to memorize biochemical pathways to know that having a protein-rich snack in the morning helps keep your muscles strong. You don't need to understand every step of ATP production to realize that pairing that protein with a small amount of carbohydrates can keep your energy steady until your next meal. When science is made accessible, it stops being an abstract concept and starts being a tool, something you can use every single day to make decisions. The goal isn't to overwhelm you with data, but to give you the why behind the what. That why is what turns a habit into a long-term lifestyle change. Because when you understand what's happening inside your body, you're far more likely to make choices that support it. When we think about food, we often picture flavor, texture, and maybe even comfort. But beneath that experience, something far more important is happening. Every bite you take is broken down into its chemical components, and those components become raw materials for your body's repair and energy systems. Understanding this isn't about memorizing complex pathways, it's about appreciating the fact that your muscles, your energy, even your immune system are literally built from the nutrients you provide. Let's start with protein, because for anyone over 60, this is one of the most critical nutrients you can focus on. Protein is made of amino acids, and these amino acids are the bricks and mortar for your muscle fibers. When you walk, climb stairs, or even just stand up from a chair, you create microscopic stress in your muscles, tiny tears in the fibers. This is not a bad thing. In fact, it's necessary for growth and maintenance. But the repair process only works if your body has access to the amino acids it needs. When you consume a high-quality protein source, something like Greek yogurt, eggs, or cottage cheese, the proteins are broken down in your digestive tract by enzymes into their individual amino acids. These amino acids are absorbed into the bloodstream and transported to the muscle cells. Once inside, a chain of events begins. One of the key triggers is a molecule called leucine, a branched-chain amino acid that acts almost like a switch. Leucine activates a pathway known as mTOR, short for mechanistic target of rapamycin, which signals the muscle to start synthesizing new proteins. This is the actual rebuilding process, where damaged fibers are repaired and strengthened. But protein doesn't just affect muscle, it also plays a role in energy balance. While carbohydrates are the body's preferred quick fuel, protein can be converted into glucose through a process called gluconeogenesis when needed. This means that in times when you're not eating frequently, adequate protein can help maintain steady energy levels without causing big spikes and crashes in blood sugar. Now, let's talk about energy production, because repairing muscle requires energy, and that's where the other nutrients in your snack come in. Mitochondria, the power plants of your cells, take glucose from carbohydrates and fatty acids from fats and run them through a process called oxidative phosphorylation. The end product is ATP, the molecule your cells use as fuel for every action, from contracting a muscle to repairing DNA. When you pair protein with a moderate amount of carbohydrate, such as fruit, oats, or whole grain bread, you provide a dual benefit. The protein supports repair, while the carbohydrates replenish glycogen stores in muscle, ensuring you have the energy to function throughout the day. One important point here is timing. After a night of fasting, your body's amino acid levels are lower, and muscle protein breakdown may be occurring at a faster rate. Eating a protein-rich snack in the morning helps reverse that catabolic state, shifting your body back into a mode of repair and growth. By giving your system both the building blocks and the energy it needs early in the day, you're essentially priming it for better function, not just for the morning, but for the entire day ahead. These mechanisms are not abstract theories. They're observed and measured in research labs, in clinics, and in real people. Understanding that food is not just calories in, but rather a set of biochemical instructions for your body, changes the way you look at what's on your plate. It's the reason why the right morning snack can be so much more than a habit. It can be a targeted intervention to maintain muscle, preserve energy, and improve your quality of life well into your later years. I remember sitting with a patient in his late 60s, a retired engineer who had always been active. He told me how frustrated he felt because no matter how much he walked or worked in his garden, his muscles seemed weaker than they used to be. He thought it was just old age and that there was nothing he could do about it. But as we talked, I asked him about his diet, and something stood out. He was barely getting any protein in the morning. His breakfast was usually toast with jam and a cup of tea, and sometimes he'd skip it altogether. Now here's where the aha moment came in. not just for him but for many people in his situation. We know from decades of research that muscle isn't just for athletes, it's a critical organ for healthy aging. It supports balance, prevents falls, and acts as a reservoir for glucose regulation, which affects blood sugar and energy. And the most effective time to stimulate muscle protein synthesis is when the body is most primed for repair, often right after the overnight fast. That's the window he was missing. I explained to him that by starting his day with a high-quality protein source, something with around 20 grams of protein and paired with a small amount of carbohydrates, he could turn on his body's repair mechanisms early. It wasn't about bulking up like a bodybuilder. It was about maintaining the muscle he already had and ensuring his energy didn't dip mid-morning. He decided to try something simple, plain Greek yogurt with berries and a spoonful of oats. That combination delivered the protein, the essential amino acids, and the steady release carbs his body needed. Within a few weeks, he told me he felt less fatigued during his morning activities and noticed he could carry heavier gardening tools without tiring as quickly. It wasn't a miracle, it was physiology responding to the right input. What's powerful about this kind of story is that it's not based on opinion or hype. It's grounded in what we observe in clinical practice and what's documented in scientific literature. Numerous studies confirm that older adults who consistently meet their protein needs, especially earlier in the day, experience slower rates of muscle loss and maintain better functional strength. And when we combine that with even light resistance exercise, the results can be significant. The credibility doesn't come from making big promises. It comes from aligning what we recommend with what the data shows and what the body's own mechanisms support. In this case, the science is straightforward. Give your muscles the amino acids they need when they're most receptive, and they'll respond by repairing and preserving strength. That's not marketing, it's biochemistry in action. For that retired engineer, the realization that his weakness wasn't just inevitable aging, but something he could actively influence, changed his entire mindset. He began looking at food differently, not as just fuel or habit, but as a tool. And that shift from feeling powerless to realizing you can take meaningful evidence-backed action is one of the most valuable transformations we can inspire. When you see that spark of understanding in someone's eyes, you know they'll never look at their morning routine the same way again. That's what makes this approach powerful. It's not just the information, it's the way it connects to someone's real life and gives them a reason to act today, not someday. When it comes to making a change in your morning routine, the most effective approach is one that is both practical and adaptable. A recommendation is only valuable if it can be put into practice without creating unnecessary barriers, and yet it also needs to recognize that not every body responds in the exact same way. That's why when we talk about a morning snack to support muscle repair and sustained energy, especially after the age of 60, we have to think in terms of a framework rather than a rigid prescription. One of the most evidence-supported strategies is to aim for a snack that delivers roughly 15 to 20 grams of high-quality protein, paired with a modest amount of complex carbohydrates. This ratio stimulates muscle protein synthesis through the delivery of essential amino acids, particularly leucine, while also providing a steady release of glucose to fuel your cells. For many people, a bowl of Greek yogurt with berries and a small sprinkle of rolled oats hits that target well. It's simple, it's nutrient-dense, and it's easy to prepare. However, it's important to remember that individual needs vary. Someone with lactose intolerance might swap the yogurt for a plant-based alternative fortified with protein, such as soy yogurt, while adding chia seeds or nut butter for extra amino acids and healthy fats. For those managing blood sugar fluctuations, the carbohydrate portion might need to come from low glycemic options like berries or a few slices of apple, rather than more starchy foods. And for anyone with kidney concerns, protein intake should be discussed with their healthcare provider to ensure it's appropriate for their specific situation. Timing is another part of the equation. Eating this snack within an hour or two of waking can be beneficial, especially after the overnight fast when muscle breakdown may be more active. But for some, particularly those who practice intermittent fasting, the timing might be shifted slightly later in the morning. What matters most is that the snack is consistent and balanced when it is consumed. Hydration also plays a subtle but important role here. Pairing your snack with a glass of water, or even better, water with a pinch of electrolytes, can help optimize nutrient transport and muscle function. It's a small detail, but these small details often add up to meaningful differences in how you feel over the course of the day. And we can't ignore personal preference. A strategy that you don't enjoy is unlikely to become a habit. If you prefer savory over sweet, you might opt for a boiled egg with a slice of whole grain toast and avocado. If you're on the go, a protein shake made with unsweetened almond milk, frozen berries, and a scoop of protein powder can be both convenient and effective. The principles remain the same. You're delivering the nutrients your body needs in a form that fits your lifestyle. This balance of structure and flexibility is what allows a recommendation to move from theory into daily life. It's not about following one perfect snack that works for everyone. It's about understanding the nutritional goals and then meeting them in a way that's tailored to your needs, tastes, and health considerations. When we anchor our choices in both science and self-awareness, we not only make them more effective, but we make them sustainable. And in the end, sustainability is what keeps those benefits compounding month after month, year after year. You said, one of the most important things to understand, especially as we get older, is that your body is still remarkably capable of adapting, repairing, and even growing stronger. The changes you make now are not just better late than never. They can have real, measurable effects on your strength, your energy, and your independence. Too often I hear people in their 60s or 70s say, "It's too late for me," or "This is just how aging works." But the truth is, your muscles, your metabolism, and your energy systems are still responsive to the signals you send them every day. The key is knowing how to send the right signals. When you provide your body with the right nutrition, like a protein-rich morning snack paired with a bit of slow-burning carbohydrate, you are telling it, in very real biochemical terms, it's time to repair, it's time to build, it's time to sustain energy for the hours ahead. That signal travels through your digestive system, into your bloodstream, and right into your cells, where it triggers changes in how your body allocates resources. Amino acids from protein begin the process of rebuilding muscle fibers. Carbohydrates replenish glycogen and keep your energy stable. It's not just about preventing loss, it's about enabling gains. Think about the implications of that. If you wake up and spend your morning without giving your muscles what they need, they slowly lose strength over time. But if you start your day by feeding them exactly what they require, you're actively investing in your future mobility, balance, and endurance. You're giving yourself a better chance of carrying groceries without strain, climbing stairs without fatigue, and maintaining the independence that so many people fear losing as they age. And the beauty of this is that it doesn't require a complete overhaul of your life. You don't need an expensive supplement regimen or hours in the gym to see progress. You simply need to make a choice, consistently, to start your morning with something that supports your muscles and fuels your energy. Over weeks and months, those small choices compound, and you'll notice the difference in the way you move, the way you feel, and even the way you think about yourself. Your body is not static. It is constantly remodeling itself based on the inputs it receives. That means you have influence, direct influence, over how you age. And this isn't blind optimism, it's backed by research showing that even in later decades of life, muscles can grow, endurance can improve, and energy levels can stabilize when we give our bodies the right tools. So the next time you sit down to your morning meal, see it not as a routine you've done 1,000 times before, but as a strategic choice, one that can set the tone for your entire day and over time, reshape your health trajectory. You have the ability to shift the way your body responds to the challenges of aging. That's not something to hope for, it's something you can make happen, starting right now. This simple snack, even if modest at first, is more than food. It's a signal to your body that rebuilding, renewal, and energy flow are still possible. Over time, consistency compounds. You're not just snacking, you're investing in strength, vitality, and independence. Let the day begin with that choice. Your body and your energy will thank you.